Meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Here.
Trustee Dodge?
Here.
Trustee Calandrello?
Here.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Milani?
Here, and I'm attending via phone due to work travel.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the September 16, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of September 16, 2019.
Second. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Working on Wellness Foundation raffle license.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve issuing a raffle license to Working on Wellness Foundation to sell raffle tickets at the Orland Park Health and Fitness Center beginning Tuesday, October 8, 2019 through Sunday, October 20th, 2019.
Are there any questions or comments on this? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Disabled Patriot Fund raffle license.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve a raffle license for 1 year beginning October 8th, 2019, expiring October 8th, 2020, to the Disabled Patriots Fund to sell raffle tickets daily at Mackey's Pub.
Second. Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Orland Park Lions Club raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to approve issuing a raffle license for 1 year beginning October 8th, 2019, expiring October 8th, 2020, to the Orland Parks Lions Club to conduct a weekly raffle drawing at Patty B's at 7 p.m. every Friday evening.
Second. Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Abstain because I'm the current president of the Lions Club and I had to fill out the paperwork.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Orland Park Veterans Commission raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve issuing a raffle license for 1 year beginning October 8, 2019, expiring October 8, 2020, to the Orland Park Veterans Commission to sell raffle tickets daily at Mackey's Pub.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Orland Youth Association raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Dodge.
move to approve issuing a raffle license for 1 year beginning October 8, 2019, expiring October 8, 2020. Orland Youth Association to sell raffle tickets during their Queen of Hearts Progressive Raffle, held weekly and Fridays at Coach's Corner.
Second.
Do I have any comments on this? So I have some comments on this one. The Queen of Hearts, what's the limit on Queen of Hearts?
The limits on Queen of Hearts is the maximum payout is $50,000, so the maximum that can be raised is $100,000. Typically, the Queen of Hearts is a 50-50 split.
And what organizations currently have it?
I believe the Rotary has it. We just approved them for Disabled Patriot Fund, the Orland Park Lions Club, and the Orland Park Veterans Commission,
And St. Michael's. St. Michael's has one, too.
and St. Michael's.
Okay. So I guess my concerns with this is it's for 2 travel teams, and the little bit of an issue with Queen of Hearts in general for 12-year-old boys or girls, softball or baseball. But also, the Pandora's box this is going to open because of the travel teams that travel every year. So I'll be voting no on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, we do have the right to say no on these. Okay. Because I'm concerned about the precedent it sets for other children's organizations and for children's teams, because this is not for the whole organization, this is for 2 teams to travel to Cooperstown. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
No.
Trustee Malani.
No.
Mayor Pico.
No. Motion carries 4-3.
Proclamations, appointments, presentations. Community Pride Award.
No, she needs to make it.
Okay, before then. Mayor Pico,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to amend the agenda to include a presentation of the Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge Award.
Second.
Any comments? Essentially, this was mistakenly put on the wrong agenda, on a committee agenda, and it needed to be on the board floor tonight, so that's why we're making this motion. But we're not actually voting on anything on this, it's just a presentation.
It'll be placed as the second item under number 4.
Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Community Pride Award, Famous Daves.
So I'm going to issue on behalf of the board a Community Pride Award to Famous Daves. Famous Daves has an individual from Orland Park, Steve Baroni, who has cerebral palsy, who has worked. He's impaired, confined to a wheelchair, but he's worked at Famous Daves for almost 8 years and has only missed 3 days of work. Steve does a lot of various tasks such as cleaning menus for a few hours a week with the support of his family and coworkers. Steve's father also works part-time at Famous Dave's, helping out around the restaurant while his son is working. Famous Dave's doesn't have a formal program, but they're to be commended for what they do for the community and for Stephen in particular. And I met Stephen, actually, he comes to all of our cookouts with the cops. And at least everyone that I was at, he was there. And what got me talking to him was he had an Elvis in concert shirt. So I asked him if he liked Elvis, and he said, and his dad said, oh, he loves Elvis. And I said, you know, the first concert I ever went to was to see Elvis Presley. His dad was a skeptic and said, no, you couldn't have. And I said, yep, May 1st, 1977. And so he asked Stephen, when was Elvis's last concert? And where was it?
August 16, 1977.
That's when he passed away. When was his last concert?
I don't remember all.
What, was it Indianapolis?
Indianapolis, yes.
Right. So Stephen told me it was in Indianapolis in June, I believe, and he was absolutely right. So anyways, I invited Stephen to our concert in the park where we had a great time listening to Jefferson Starship and Loverboy, and then I found out all that Famous Dave's does for him, and I think that actions like that from our restaurants, they weren't looking for publicity or anything. They're just out there doing a good thing for our community, and you're to be commended for that. So for that, I want to issue the Community Pride Award.
very much. Let's give him a round of applause.
Go ahead.
Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge Award.
Mr. Mayor, Chairman Katsinas, members of the board, we're here this evening with Paul Rizzo, who's a law enforcement liaison to the Illinois Department of Transportation. In 2017, the police department joined the Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge, which is a comprehensive traffic safety program that you submit to Illinois chiefs of police, and you are graded with departments your size, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, and so on. Both municipal departments, county departments, state police, university police. And in 2018, we won the first place award in Illinois for departments up to 100 officers. After that, your department goes into what is called the Championship Series, which is, for 2018, we only competed against departments that had won the category they are in for municipal or county. So now you're competing against all of the first place winners across the state. Lieutenant Ford runs our traffic program along with 4 officers, but it's a department-wide event. And you have seen the document, which is an inch thick, that represents all of our traffic safety work during the year. Does it work? I think most importantly, the effort we put in, does it in fact work? And in fact, in 2016, we had 2,516 crashes. 2018, 1,944. And traffic injuries were reduced from 279 to 211. So it's a lot of work, but it does in fact work. So this award is our first place in the championship series. We're extremely proud of our first place in our category in 2017, awarded in 2018, and we're thrilled that Paul Rizzo could be here to award us the championship series first place award to you, Chairman Katsinas, and the rest of the board, and most importantly, for traffic safety in Orland Park. And these are some of the men and women who are not here that are responsible for the awards. Now, it often means lots of tickets and lots of different events, whether it's railroad safety, pedestrian safety, distracted driving. It is a very comprehensive program. Every member of the department, from the most junior person, is part of this, because we track everything they do on all the different details and so forth that we give them. So we're very proud to get this to present it to you and to the board on behalf of the department. With that, Paul, I'd ask you to do something.
I just wanted to stress the fact that this is not a toast of we take into account policies and procedures, officer training, public information, education, and officer workers. This is a comprehensive, as the chief mentioned, comprehensive look at all of the department's programs. And as you mentioned, it is a combination of all of those programs. So that's the best. That's
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I gotta take something off the consent agenda. Do you know about that? Oh, it's just
At the risk of doing a little bit of math in public, that's approximately a little over 20% decrease in both injuries and in crashes. So that's outstanding work from our police department. So it does work. So great work.
Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy?
I would like to make a motion to pull item C from the consent agenda.
Okay. So the consent agenda, is items A, payroll for September 20, 2019 to October 4th, 2019 approval. Item B, accounts payable from September 17th, 2019 to October 7th, 2019 approval. Item C, professional services agreement to implement Microsoft products. Item D, Akawi Residence, 10841 West 143rd Street, authorizing annexation agreement ordinance. Item E, adoption of 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. Item F, adoption of 2018 International Mechanical Code. I will entertain a motion for consent for items A through C, or excuse me, A and B and D through F.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrella.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge. Aye. Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Item C, professional services agreement to implement Microsoft products.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani?
I move to approve the procurement of professional and engineering services from SWC Technology Partners for the not-to-exceed amount of $75,070 plus a 5% contingency,
And to waive the formal bidding process?
and to waive the formal bidding process.
That's,
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the procurement of professional and engineering services for SWC Technology Partners for the not-to-exceed amount of $75,070 plus 5% contingencies, waiving the formal bid process. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrello?
unless my iPad isn't updated, I don't think it had the waiving the bid process. On the legislator, we're going to have issues with legal with that if we haven't publicized the waiving process. It's not on the motion about the waiving
It doesn't
process.
matter that it's on the motion. The item is before the board on the agenda, and whatever motion a trustee wants to make with respect to that agenda item is
Okay, I didn't know if there's additional notice issues with waiving. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Dodge?
why did we pull this from the consent agenda?
I think it's pretty clear that we had to put waive the bid process, is what I was told, into the motion. So on the consent agenda, we would have been unable to amend, to change that motion.
Got it.
So could you just let me know why it was, the bid process was waived? Just really quick. Sure.
The bidding process was waived because of the urgency of the need to procure these services in order to implement various software to have it implemented before we hit the deadline for it going end of life. So we have 3 products. The Microsoft Exchange 2010, which goes end of life. Actually, Microsoft just recently extended that to October of 2020. Windows 7 goes end of life in January 10th of 2020. And then you've got the Microsoft Office 2010 goes end of life also in, I believe, October of next year.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor Pico,
Trustee Dodge?
just, you did, if I'm reading the details you provided the board, you did talk to other vendors though, correct?
Talked to 4 vendors.
And I assume they came in higher priced, hence, and so you've articulated your reasons for the urgency. I understand your logic. You did talk to other vendors, correct?
Correct.
They came in higher, or they couldn't get the work done? What was the reason for, I just would like a little bit more background about this particular choice.
The other vendors came in at a higher hourly rate or more hours that they proposed for the project. SWC came in at the lowest rate and the lowest number of hours required to complete the project. We have worked with SWC in the past. They're a Microsoft Gold partner, and the work they've done has been met our satisfaction and our requirements in the past.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton? Aye. Trustee Dodge?
No.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Motion carries 6-1. Motion carries 6-1. Yep.
Employee insurance renewal FY 2020.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Calandrella.
I move to approve the amendment. Move to approve the amendments with the recommended vendor associated expense effective January 1st, 2020.
Second.
Any questions or comments? I guess first I'll just ask for just a general explanation, Stefano or Tom.
This item is our annual insurance renewal as it relates to employee benefits. The Horton Group works with us each year and markets the various products, including our medical, dental, vision, life insurance, short-term disability programs, our flexible spending accounts. We also have an employee assistance program that's on this agenda, our Virgin Health Miles, and our biometric screening. Mike Wojcik is here from the Horton Group to talk a little bit about the renewal if you'd like to know more about the process and where we were at with the outcome.
Go right ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks. Good evening, Mayor and trustees. So, as Stefano had mentioned, every year the renewal of this package is up for January 1st, 2020, for a one-year period. We, as your broker representative, go to the market every year and put out an RFP for all of those lines that Stefano had mentioned. So the health insurance being the largest one, we are always very aggressive on that. We went to 16 different markets this year. Most of those being reinsurance markets because your plan is partially self-funded. We had a lot of negatives or uncompetitive responses based on the plan's performance, which is a requirement that we have to do, give them 2 years of history. Where we particularly took some increase was in the stop-loss markets. That has been hit universally everywhere in the fact that there are quite a few 100,000 plus claimants today, more so than any other time in history. We've seen an increase again across all of our block. $100,000 claimants have gone up about 70%, increased 70% in the past 5 years. $500,000 claimants have doubled. The village has a fair representation of large claimants on all of their plans, and that's caused our stop loss to go up at the percentage that it did. It went up 50% for the stop loss protection. The HMO capitation fee was flat. That's been one of our more successful plans in holding down costs. And then our claims projections, the carrier negotiated them at 6%. Overall, bottom line, it's about 8.5% on the health insurance. Questions on that?
Any questions?
Our closest competitor, I'm sorry, was another large insurance company that was $1 million more than where we're at currently with our renewal.
Any questions?
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
Just a couple of comments. So, playing back, 8.5%?
Yes.
Surprised, not surprised? What's going on in the rest of the broader marketplace for entities about our size?
So the not a surprise, and again, a midterm, I believe we projected it was about 6.5 or 7.5 that it would be based on what we saw the claimants in the middle of the year. Give you an example of our claims history for those large claimants. That was our biggest hit, the reinsurance. That was a 50% hit. The admin fee, actually, we negotiated a negative.
Meaning it went down, just so we get the language right.
Admin and the prescription drug rebates, we were actually able to save about 36% decrease on those. The stop loss is what was the biggest factor in there, and we carry $100,000 of protection. We shopped alternatives to that, maybe taking a little higher risk, $125,000, $150,000, save some money. Quite honestly, by the time we did the history check on our large claimants that would be repeats, it would not be to the village's advantage to go into a higher risk factor there. Over the past 4 years to date, 2019, the reinsurance companies paid out over $2 million of claims above $100,000.
Us, right? You're talking
just your plan. So 4.5 years, $2,064,000. We paid, the village paid them $1.6 million for that protection. So they lost money on those, and this is kind of a catch-up period, it seems like.
The big driver of costs, drug costs. Drug costs are what, a little over 30% of our total costs?
Yeah, your total.
And how much of that, just to put it in perspective for everyone to pressure their congressman and everything to do something about this. Specialty drugs, we're what, 75% of our total?
Yours is extremely high on specialty drugs.
So roughly 25% of our overall healthcare spend is specialty drugs. How many prescriptions does that represent out of how many prescriptions?
It was less than 1% of your total scripts came from specialty drugs, but accounted for that big of a percent of your total spend. Specialty drugs are very challenging right now. There's not a lot of alternatives to them, so we're trying to engage as much as possible in alternate ways of controlling costs because they are quite costly. The chronic specialty drug will cost $60,000. A more serious drug will cost a couple $100,000 a year. And ongoing.
Yeah, and I'm quite familiar because my daughter's specialty drugs probably in the $60,000 to $100,000 a year range. And the real issue here is it takes them so long to get it to the market, and there's so few people that use it. The only way to get their research dollars back is to price it that high. So they need to find a way to allow them to get that to market a little bit quicker so they can recoup it over a longer period of time.
Quicker to the market. Biosimilar alternatives and just a lot more competition in that area, possibly some legislative help from Washington. It's not a plan design that's going to solve that one.
Any other questions or comments?
Mayor Pica?
Trustee Katsinas.
I have a question for Stefana. How often do we go out to bid health insurance? And when was the last time we bid it?
We do that annually. So the Horton Group represents us annually and takes our insurance out to bid.
It's extensive every year. We don't take anything for granted on it.
And your contract is how long?
We just signed a new one last year. We went through an RFP process, request for qualifications and pricing from brokerage, so our services. And we signed, that went into effect January 1st of 19 for 5 years.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Yeah, this may be an unfair question, but can you look out long over the next 3 or 4 years? Can we expect 8%? We haven't peaked yet on these prices, have we? Or
no, it's sustainability is being challenged quite a bit. Our biggest defense, and Stefana and team, your whole administrative team, has been very proactive in promoting the wellness programs. Bless you. Trying to get ahead of claims, trying to be preventive in the thought process, and bless you, and get just get a wellness culture here. That's been one of your biggest support to controlling your cost. Plan designs, we engaged, you've been an early adopter of consumer-driven plans, higher deductibles. Higher deductibles have shown members to be more engaged in the cost of health care rather than spend it frivolously if they could help it. That has also been a very helpful method. Medical trend and pharmacy trend together in Illinois run about 8%, just standing still. If we don't impact the plan some way, shape, or form through communication, plan design, wellness, that bottom line is going up 8%. That's kind of where we see the trend right now. Primarily it's heavily influenced by pharmacy. Pharmacy is a big one, and again, to the degree that pharmacy is being spent here at your village is, it's common in the other municipal businesses that we see. The increases are common based on your performance, but it needs a little help, particularly in the pharmacy side. We're doing everything we can by shopping it every year, by trying to implement the carrier's best practices as if your plan was fully insured. So carriers make changes on their fully insured programs. We're not passing those up. We're making those suggestions to adopt, and we've been doing that over the past several years. So it's not really, you're not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Our trend as well over the last couple of years, we have had flat renewals where we haven't seen an increase in costs. And Mike, I don't remember the last, and this was unfortunate that this was a larger percent increase, but I want to say it's at least been 5 years that our renewal has been flat.
And again, all of these factors have helped that. This year, the market in general, again, I'll go back to the reinsurance markets. They have been nervous, particularly because of these super drugs. There's a drug that was just released about 3 months ago that cost $2.1 million. That is a lifesaver. There was a drug last year released for $1 million. Problem is, not a lot of people take those drugs, so they charge that price. They have to charge that price to get their money back. But imagine the reinsurance company that an employee walks in and has that, or has a dependent with one of those, and they have to pay out everything over $100,000. So we've seen that spike everywhere in the marketplace this year, just kind of buffering, being prepared for these high-cost situations.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
Just couldn't agree more with your comments about how pharma is priced in this country, and it has a lot to do with what countries around the world do in terms of taking advantage of the R&D that happens in North America, but that's a much longer conversation.
It is.
But to pivot off I think I want to play back what I heard you say to Trustee Healy's questions, which is if you were to look down the road 3-4 years, you're seeing potentially 8% year-on-year growth in our healthcare costs.
Trend, if we look at PricewaterhouseCoopers National Account Survey they do every year, their trend for the past 8 years has been on average 6%. Little larger organizations, and again, that's more on a national basis. For this market here, it's closer to 8%. And I'd say we do have some new challenges, but with collective bargaining agreements, we'll probably have to go through a process with this. There is a change starting to happen with the way doctors and hospitals are contracted. They're being contracted and paid based on value and performance. And what does that mean? That means they're accepting less, but producing an outcome that's superior, and therefore they will receive a bonus from the process. What is that going to look like? That's going to be a whole new network that's being developed. Blue Cross will have a national accounts high-performance network ready to run 2021, and that will be a new plan design. Again, how that gets implemented here will be the question, but that could save some substantial money on the trend and curb it quite a bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton. Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
I abstain. I have a long-standing business relationship with Horton Insurance. Motion carries 6-0.
Prohibition of cannabis business establishments.
Do I hear a motion?
Mayor Pico,
Trustee Katsinas.
may I have an ordinance number?
5436.
I move to pass ordinance number 5436, an ordinance creating a new Chapter 21, Prohibition of Cannabis Business Establishments of Title VII, Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code.
Second.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this issue before we open it up for board comments? Okay. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
I just have a question. In this ordinance, it says it's recreational. So if somebody came in with a medical establishment,
That's correct. The medical establishments are regulated as they have been since the prior year when medical wasn't established in the village.
so they're outlawed too, correct?
Correct. We don't allow medical establishments, so that hasn't changed.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
could I ask for Chief McCarthy's input on this? What is his concern for the community? Is policing anything that he might be able to shed light on?
Well, from a professional standpoint, Trustee Katsinas, the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police opposed recreational marijuana for a variety of reasons based on the Colorado experience, which, according to the data we had, accidents increased. There was a variety of negative impacts based upon the vote in 2012 and the implementation in 2014, some of which included an increase in poison center marijuana exposures to children, hospitalizations doubled, traffic fatalities increased. NHTSA estimated that fatal car crash cost $1.3 million per death, and that the death rate went up from 78 in 2012 to 147 in 2016. So we opposed it, and thus, from a professional standpoint, I'd be inconsistent to say that I think it's a good idea to put them here. I don't think people will still be able to go possibly to neighboring communities that approve it to get marijuana. So that ship has sailed, so to speak. But as part of Illinois Chiefs, we opposed it then, and we would be inconsistent not to oppose it now.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Calendro.
You know, I actually thought a lot about this, and it's here. It's going to happen, like Chief just said, that they can go to, I think actually most of our surrounding communities are going to have it, and we can't do anything about that. I mean, Springfield passed this, and they didn't. And the question is, what is going to be negatively affect the health, safety, and the welfare in Orland Park, because it's not sold in Orland Park, but you can go across the street, 179th or whatever neighborhood. However, I am a little worried about some of the details. I know that Springfield's going to clean up some of the back end of it, and that was one of the reasons why I was hesitant to, and I believe I was on board when we put a pause on medical marijuana because of the details that weren't worked out yet. So that's kind of where my head's at now. I would like to come revisit this in a year or two to see all those details. I don't know if we can put a sunset clause on it, or if the board can do it themselves, because I would myself personally look into the medical side and see if we had those issues that we were worried about, or are we missing business, because this is going to be a business and we're going to be losing this revenue to other towns. And what's the negative effect? The negative effect's happening already, like Chief talked about. Even if we don't sell it or sell it, it's not going to affect it. We're still going to have people driving on the influence of cannabis through our town who bought it in whatever town X, Y, and Z, and not have the right tools to show it or prosecute it. I'm not really worried too much of the health and safety welfare, but I'm a little worried about the details. So I'd like to visit this in a year or two and see how it's playing out.
I'd also like to mention that a trailer bill supposedly will come, but as of now, we have no field test for THC. There's a saliva test that supposedly will come down the road somewhere. We have not trained our officers yet as DREs or drug recognition experts, and our experience in court is largely without the scientific evidence that most of the cases are dismissed. We also had 2 officers injured in a marijuana-related crash where they were rear-ended. One officer returned to duty after 4 or 5 months on workman's comp, and a second officer will likely have to retire on a disability pension. Now, again, that was a year ago, but it was marijuana, and we can expect that is, of course, a very, very tragic case, but nonetheless, it just highlights the issue that we have. And we could not, in Illinois, you have 2 hours roughly from the time of a crash to get a search warrant for blood from the suspect. And as a former state's attorney, you know as well as I do that getting a search warrant in 2 hours is
Impossible in Cook County.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Milani, did you want to be recognized?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Milani.
Just a couple things. I agree with a lot of the comments that Chief McCarthy has about the possible dangers of having it in our area, and I do believe that health, safety, and welfare of our residents should come first and foremost above business. If we look at our neighboring communities like Mokina, possibly Frankfurt, New Lenox, some of the other areas that are also going to prohibit it, I think that puts us in a good place to be well surrounded by other communities that are not going to participate in the sales of cannabis. This is something that I've been tracking since the INL first put out their perspective on this, and it's something that I've definitely wanted to have taken care of as soon as we could. So, thank you, staff, for working hard on this.
Mayor Pico.
If I could make one more comment, Mr. Mayor.
Your Chief.
Supposedly, there is a trailer bill coming, and in the past, when we had the video gaming, we waited a short period of time to see how that thing worked out before the board made a final decision to go forward with it. And who knows what this trailer bill is going to contain that you as a board or ourselves in law enforcement may find more palatable than what we have now.
Trustee Dodge.
Mayor Pico, just a couple of comments and then some suggestions along the lines of what's been discussed. So I think we can probably all agree that Springfield broadly is the bastion of underthink. And what I think is unfortunate here is that they are enamored with the idea of the revenue, and I think that they're putting the burden and the risk on us as individual citizens and us as an individual municipality to try and force. So that's broadly one of the issues I see with all this. I personally don't have an issue with folks smoking tobacco or marijuana or drinking. Just don't ask me to pay for it, and don't put me or my family or people I care about at risk. And so what I find deeply troubling about what Springfield has done is, as the chief so eloquently said, there is no good way to, I guess, enforce this at this moment. Personally, you look at the data of the states that have approved this, and they're all pretty negative trends in terms of fatalities, and accidents, and that's just on the traffic side, let alone the human cost of this potentially as a gateway drug for who knows what folks that might have underlying addiction issues. So again, I don't have a problem with legalizing marijuana. I just don't think the state has done enough to protect us from the downsides of all this. So that said, I'd like to ask the board if, and I don't know who mentioned it earlier, I don't have a problem, and I talked to a neighbor of mine who uses medical marijuana, but he has to leave Orland to go get it. So is there any option for us to look closely at, not necessarily tonight, but look closely at allowing medical marijuana, I'm happy to say no to this for now, but I want to emphasize, much like what we've seen with smoking and much like we see with gaming, I think there's an upside to taking a cautious approach, see what happens. Let's see what the trailer bills actually get delivered. Let's see if Cook County and the state actually give the police an opportunity to properly enforce this. Let's raise our fine so it's pretty painful to get caught. Tim, what's the phrase? DUI drug? Is that the official? Yeah, and so I just think that there's an entire enforcement regime that we're not ready yet, but I do want to make the case for us to think about this in a year or two, but also pose the question to the full board, can we consider allowing medical marijuana? Given the how many doctors we have in town, given an aging population, when I asked a few neighbors about this, they said, I don't have a problem if you allow it sales in Orland because now I have to leave town for medical marijuana. So is that an option?
So I guess there's a couple things there. As far as reattacking this at a later date, the boards always have that option. So this board or another board obviously always has that option. Same thing with medical, they have that option. My understanding, though, with this bill is if you authorize a medical dispensary, they automatically get a recreational dispensary as well. That's what Mokina is dealing with to some degree and trying to figure out. So I think this is part of the bill being not done very well. So I don't know that we necessarily would have that option. But we may, and I think when you see the trailer bill, we can certainly discuss it. I guess my position on this is that, you know, I'm against legalizing it, always have been. From a medical perspective, there's no doubt in my mind that it has, that it's a drug, and I'm sure it has benefits for certain indications. I think the number of indications now are in the couple of hundred plus now. And because anything that somebody wants as an indication, they just make it one. Because I don't think this was really about medical care. It was much more about getting it in the hands of people. If it was about medical care, it would have went through CVS and Walgreens just like every other drug and not had its own dispensary, which I think in Colorado was 4 medical pot shops in a block in Breckenridge. I mean, that's basically what you're looking at. I'm sure that was all medical purposes. So I don't have an issue with medical. I think the way we've gone about legalizing it for medical use has been pretty poor. Shock that the state of Illinois would be poor at implementing something like this, and I do agree that this is the same way because we have absolutely no way to test right now. Until we have that, I can't see passing it. The other thing that should be noted with because it's now corporately run, there is the potency now is 9 times more than it was 30, 40 years ago, and the edibles are 30 times what it was 30, 40 years ago. So you're talking about a significant difference in what you saw to 30 or 40 years ago. So I think that's also a potential problem. So. So I would be a no, but anytime the board wants to revisit it, and I'm always open-minded to if there's different experiences and we see something that actually works, although I'm pretty doubtful that Illinois would implement a law that would work well.
There we go.
Trustee Dodge.
So I guess then I'll ask staff to start to take a close look at can we or can we not allow medical marijuana with or without automatically expanding it to recreational. I guess is that the official term of adult use. I think that's an important fact we need to check. And I'll reiterate. I think we're saying similar things. I'm just absolutely terrified. Illinois is completely underthought the implications of it's still federally illegal. So like these folks that are in this business can't use the banking system. So now you have large amounts of cash being moved around, probably under armed guards that are not trained for this. And I think it actually is going to perversely accelerate the illegal market.
It actually has, I think, Greg Summers has some information.
The data that's been presented has shown that it has increased the black market primarily because they can avoid the taxes and distribute the product at a lower expense. And yet the end users that are found with it can't be determined where it came from. So, and there's actually seen, particularly in Colorado, increased cartel activity from numerous other countries.
I think we're all generally in agreement. It's a mess. And to the extent that we have an option to see what other happens around here in this part of Illinois, but also take a look at medical, that would be great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
I just want to throw my 2 cents in. We market ourselves as a family community. We want to attract young families. We have great pride in our police department, and they recommend against it. And we just want to be a family community. And this we're not impervious to the opioid crisis, but we have to do everything we can to help avoid it. So I'll be voting no against this, but we should look at that medical marijuana down the road.
So you would actually be voting yes for this? I want to be clear,
Yes,
so we don't have
I'm
that.
sorry. That's right. I don't want to do that.
A yes vote for this is prohibiting cannabis. So any other questions or comments? So the question is put to pass, what was the ordinance number again?
5436.
Pass ordinance number 5436 entitled an ordinance creating a new Chapter 21 prohibition of cannabis business establishments of Title 7 Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code. And to reiterate that a vote to pass this restricts cannabis use. So that everyone understands. Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Yes.
Trustee Healy.
Yes.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calangelo.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Nobody signed it.
So is there anybody here to speak tonight? Okay, before you speak, I'm going to let you come up here. I think I might know what you're going to speak about, maybe not. But I do have some comments to make, if I can find them. I apologize. So we've been getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails in the last, well, since Friday, since the Thursday news article came out. So we will be opening this up for public comment. I know that a lot of people, may want to speak about Jenny, maybe you want to speak about the Hope Covenant Church. I also want to make you aware that the board won't be making any further comments or answering any questions beyond the statement that I'm about to make about this matter, okay? Well, I appreciate the noble intent of opening a shelter. Unfortunately, Hope Covenant Church did not take the required steps to ensure its compliance with applicable village laws. As of this time, neither the village nor the police have reviewed or approved the proposed use. The village will work with the church to determine if there are any health or safety concerns. However, for the time being, it cannot be allowed to operate as it did last week. It is my hope that all parties involved will come together to resolve this matter as quickly as possible, and we can work to satisfy the goals of the church while ensuring compliance with all village laws and regulations. Now I will open it up to your comments.
Hello, I'm Virginia Williams. I live in Orland Park for 42 years, 8114 Bobbling. Make sure I'm home before you come. I have a question in regard to this cannabis. I'm concerned about the restaurants that have no smoking. I don't want marijuana in a restaurant where I smoke, this medical marijuana. Is that possible to happen?
Yes.
I've had 7 cancers. I don't want an 8th. I would like it not to be permitted. And I'm sure everybody else feels the same way.
And so I believe here's the challenge that and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding of this. So we can prohibit the smoking of recreational marijuana in a building or establishment. An establishment can prohibit all smoking of marijuana, but medical use marijuana we cannot prohibit anywhere.
Are they going to, if somebody lights up a cigarette, are they going to have some identification that they've got medical marijuana use? Is somebody going to be authorized enough to check that out?
That's a really good question. This goes back to the state law not covering all the bases. Greg, do you have any more details on this, or Dennis?
Not in regards to the medical, no. But as far as recreational cannabis goes, it's worth noting that it cannot be consumed in public or where it's reasonably visible from the public, meaning that it should be restricted to either people's private residence or restricted to their rear yards.
What's also true is that the private business owner or the restaurant owner can prohibit the use within his facility as well.
They can't.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, board comments. Trustee Fenton.
Yes, I'd like to remind everybody that this Friday at 6:30 at the museum, we have a program called Ghosts of Route 66. It's going to be very interesting and encourage everyone to come out there. And it coordinates really nice with the Orland Park Lions Club. They start Haunted Woods this weekend and go for the next 3 weekends. And on the 26th is the Kids Haunt, which is during the day. That's when I go, when it's light outside and you can't see anything spooky. So hopefully the weather's going to cooperate. We know this Friday we're probably going to be washed out because it's going to rain, and then Saturday it's supposed to snow. But so much for the weather in Orland Park.
Trustee Dodge.
Just, we'll have to see as a community. I mean, issues like gaming, issues like indoor cigarette smoking, issues like cannabis, they're going to, I think, unfortunately, keep coming out of Springfield, and they put an undue burden, especially in the case of legalized marijuana. There's just too much that's uncertain. They put the burden back on us. We've got a case study where we really couldn't do what we needed to do for enforcement. So I just unfortunate that those that are in Springfield can't think the problem through all the way and address this issue. So it's just unfortunate.
Trustee Calabro?
Just 2 quick things. First of all, I want to thank staff for a great event. The Great Pumpkin Party was very well attended. The weather worked out. We had a lot going on at Centennial, and parking was not an issue. It was a great family event. I don't know the numbers, but it seemed like it was pretty packed, as packed as I've ever seen it before. Another great free event for our residents, bringing our community together. So I just want to give a public pat on the back to our village team on that. I don't think Nancy's here, but I'm sure I'll get back to her. And also congratulations again on our police department for the traffic safety challenge. Like Tim said, I was in previous life a state's attorney, and I know that we have the best police force in the nation. So they do a really good job, and I hope they keep it up. And it's definitely because of the leadership and all his team, all 1 through 250, whatever his staff number is. So a little less than that, but the 100 sworn and all the support staff also. Thank you.
Budget time, you know. Barely enough.
Trustee Healy.
I would just like to put another exclamation point for Famous Dave's, their work with hiring a local kid with severe handicaps who's got a great attitude, but the other employees there have an equally great attitude, like including him in everything. And I think we should show back some love to Famous Dave's, the business of the month. So congratulations, Famous Dave's.
Trustee Katsinas.
I, along with Trustee Milani and interim village manager Tom Doolby, has had the pleasure of serving as judges for the 41st annual Orland Park Open Spelling Bee that was held at Presbyterian Church in Orland Park. Dr. Smith contacted the village this morning and expressed his sincere gratitude for the village co-hosting this event. We had incredible participation with residents here in Orland and surrounding communities, and he was really overjoyed at the response from Orland Park. We had a 5th grader from Meadow Ridge, a Met Precosh that took first place in the youth division, Carolyn Murphy, an 8th grader from St. Catherine of Alexandria in Oak Lawn. She was the winner of the junior high competition, and Brian Proscato of Crestwood took home the championship in the adult division. We really enjoyed being a part of it and look forward to the next year's annual tradition, which would be next year. Chief McCarthy asked to remind everyone that the Citizens Police Academy is being held this Saturday, October 12th, at the Orland Park Police Department. We have about 25 attendees already registered. It starts at 8 a.m. and goes until about 5, Chief. Yes, so anybody interested, it's a wonderful event. Learn what the police does and assist the police in what they do. Thank you.
Trustee Milani.
Yes, I've also met, Steve at some of the events, and, he's a great kid, and I really appreciate what Famous Dates has done for him. That really means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to them as well. Also, had a great time at the spelling bee. The pumpkin party was also a great time this weekend. I'm glad the weather held out for us. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to getting back to Orland Park tomorrow night.
So I would just like to pass on a few things. One, 159th Street, open on both sides of the road, now still single lane, but now they're working on the median work, so I think they're actually going to get it open before the end of the year, both lanes all the way to 355, so hallelujah. They'll still have some landscaping work to do next year, but they've gotten there. They're about a month behind of their last update, but at least they have a couple of months slop to get it done before the end of the year, so I think they're going to get there. Also, and this one's in like 6 fonts, so the Office of Justice Programs approved an application for funding for Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program in the amount of $744,000 for the Village of Orland Park. So we met the special conditions for that, and great work from your officers, Chief, and I know this will go a long way to helping us protect and serve the community. So great news there. Also, pleased to notify that the Village of Orland Park received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the current budget from the Government Finance Officers Association. So we also received that. So some great work by the folks in our village. Then there's the double-edged sword of the flooding on Southwest Highway, which we've been dealing with again. But believe it or not, we're dealing with a lot less of it than we would have. Because after the last flooding, we had some meetings with IDOT, with the business owners, with some other stakeholders. And what we found out was that McGinnis Slough, at the request of IDOT, had not been being drawn down. They had not been drawing it down in the fall. So it was full every spring. And so the last 2 springs, when we had heavy rains, we had even more flooding because the slough was not drawn down its typical amount. We were able to resolve that issue, and the Forest Preserve started drawing it down the 2nd week of September. And they had drawn it down about 4 inches when we got 2 1.5-inch rainstorms that would have flooded Southwest Highway. Unfortunately, it also filled up the slough. So when we got the 5-inch rain, it couldn't handle it. But had we not done that, it probably would still be flooded right now. And it definitely had a huge impact on making the flood less severe than it might have been otherwise, and not having as many of them, because those other rain events would have definitely caused flooding. So an example of working together, and the project has been fast-tracked. Now, fast-track for IDOT might mean it goes on time as opposed to late. But in any case, that's an example of the legislators, IDOT, everybody working, and came up. And because we met, we learned something about what was happening and asked the question, well, why haven't we been drawing this down? And brought the Forest Preserve in the loop and actually managed to do something that improved that site. And while I know it's not it didn't fix the problem completely, it definitely made the problem less than what it would have been otherwise. So good job by all on that. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, we have an executive session?
No, there is no
That was
executive
canceled?
session.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge? Aye. Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. 8:06.